section. But as part of AgriFin's mandate is actually to empower innovators. And one of the ways that we're doing that this year, which is actually something new, is by offering masterclasses in different topics. So just in case you're lost, this is the agribusiness impact in a climate context, which is it's a part one of 2 sessions, the second which will be held tomorrow. So please make sure that you come for that as well, tomorrow afternoon from 3:50 to 4:50 p.m. It will be facilitated by the Climate Short Impact Investor Coalition from the Climate Policy Initiative, who are actually here today. But today, the session is being facilitated by Andrea Nowak, who's the research team lead at, let me just read it. Research team lead for the climate action at the Alliance of Biodiversity and CIAT, and has more than 12 years of experience on climate change adaptation. Her work focuses on measuring and tracking climate adaptation across scales with an emphasis on African agri-food sectors. Andrea supports agribusinesses in measuring and tracking their impact on people and nature within the context of climate change, leading technical assistance and trainings within various ag-focused accelerator programs. In addition, she's interested in assessing opportunities to align investments with national adaptation needs and targets, and actively contributes to dialogues on the global goal on adaptation under the UNFCCC. Andrea is also a PhD candidate on adaptation tracking at I'm going to butcher the name of the university, Wageningen University and Research. Holds an MSc in International Development and Management from Lund University, and has a BA in Political Science from the University of Bucharest. Much further ado, Andrea, welcome. And clap.
Is that for real? No. The clock says we only have 30 minutes, and that's totally not the case. Thank you for being here. I acknowledge that after lunch it's hard to get back, and especially because this is such an important moment for networking. But I appreciate for those who are in the room and maybe also online. And thank you for the long introduction. I am going to talk about impact measurement and tracking in a climate context, and I'm here to talk about elephants in the room. And by elephant in the room, I don't mean the elephant you can see in the nice wildlife in Kenya, but I'm going to talk about the elephant in the room, which is impact measurement and tracking. And why is it an elephant in the room is because I believe that we all acknowledge it's important, it's needed, but we don't do enough of it. We don't practice enough. We don't collect enough impact data. And I'm here to talk about how we can turn this elephant in the room into something we do on a more regular basis. And before we get into the gist of the session, I want to clarify what we mean by impact measurement. And I put here a definition that is widely used by the Global Impact Investment Network that basically says that impact measurement includes all the efforts aimed at identifying the types of changes produced by investments, by projects, by different efforts, whether positive or negative change, and identifying ways to manage these risks that would occur to these changes in alignment with the goals. And 2 key words to get from this definition is the emphasis on change, the fact that impact is about change, and it's not about an activity implementation or a solution implementation. Is about the change that is being created after creating a solution. And the alignment of goals. This is another keyword that will come across a lot in our session today. And before we go into the depth of impact measurement, I would like to do a very quick exercise to learn more about why you're here and why impact measurement matters to you. And I want us to do a bit of raise of hands, or even standing if it's a bit more dynamic for you after lunch. So maybe we can raise your hands once you hear some of the statements that you identify with. So for instance, who finds that impact measurement is important in order to attract investment or secure funding? Maybe you can raise your hands. We have a couple of hands. We have maybe 10 or so. Who thinks that impact measurement is important to improve market position or performance of a company or of an investor? Do we have similar numbers of hands, I would think? Others who believe that impact measurement is important to meet regulatory or certification standards? We have less hands, but we still have some hands. And what about for accountability towards donors, funders, partners, consumers? I think this is where we most agree on. Build brand reputation, so for considerate consumers who are interested in maybe sustainability issues, sustainable sourcing, a bit less. Of course, I'm sure we have other types of users of impact measurement, and I don't know if anyone wants to raise a hand to highlight something that hasn't been mentioned. Please do. I'll try to move around with the mic as well. You can also introduce yourself.
Hi, Luis Indimuli from Fambetta. I was waiting to see where the farmers actually come in. Like, all this seemed to be pertaining to the investors, us as a company, but it's actually important to know is what we are doing helping the farmer, but I didn't see that, so I'll put it there under other.
Thank you for mentioning it. I intentionally let it out so that to spark a bit of conversation. So thank you so much for your courage. Well, we all agree there is many motivation to do impact measurement. There's many reasons to do it, but there's also a lot of challenges to impact measurement, which is the reason why I'm talking about impact measurement being the elephant in the room. There's a lot of challenges in relation to identifying the right indicators for impact measurement. There's a lot of challenges related to capacity, to being able to track something that is only happening on long term, like over years. There's a lot of challenges related to how to create a good baseline, especially in the case of companies who are, innovating and starting anew every now and then and revamping themselves. So there's all these challenges that, if you think of the many reasons why it's important to measure impact, you have as many reasons not to do it because it's hard. But I'm here today to talk to you about ways you can start measuring impact today, some 3 key steps that help you make this journey your journey. And these 3 aspects that I'm going to talk about really are meant to apply to different types of users, whether you're an agribusiness, whether you're an investor, whether you're a program developer, a policy maker, and so on. These 3 key aspects that I'm going to dive deep into are meant to guide you through building your own impact journey and solve some of those challenges I mentioned previously. And I'm talking about these 3 things based on learnings that we've accumulated by working with different cohorts of agri-SMEs within CGIAR-supported accelerator programs. And our philosophy is to combine different ways to build capacity of agri-SMEs through webinars, through focused dialogues where we have one-on-one discussions with SMEs, through drop-in labs where we discuss key common issues in impact measurement and also develop a range of supporting materials for the SMEs. So the first key advice that I want to talk about is about building your own story of impact. And your story of impact is an impact pathway, you might have heard about it as a theory of change or an impact rationale or an impact narrative, and there's many ways to talk about it. But it's essentially a roadmap that tells you why you promote a certain solution, what are the challenges that you're trying to address, how do you respond to these challenges, like what is your solution about, what are the expected results from these solutions, and what are the impacts or the intentional impacts you're trying to address. So it's essentially a schematic or a logical framework for why you are proposing a solution or an investment or a project. And in practice, it might look like a messy diagram, but with a bit of work and the help of narratives, you can distill it into 4 key components, as I mentioned before. On the left side, you have the different pain points that you're trying to address. And here I'm visualizing an example of an agribusiness that works on solar-powered irrigation pumps, for instance. And on the left side, you have different ways to identify the real pain points that you're trying to address, whether it's extensive and frequent drought, which leads to insufficient water for irrigation, or for agriculture, which leads to decreasing yields and a loss of livelihoods. The pain points always relate to your end beneficiaries or the people you work with directly, and in this case, farmers. The second column is really about the solutions and how you address those pain points. Here it's about producing and commercializing solar pumps, commercializing drought-tolerant seeds, and providing farmer technical assistance. The third column is really about the results or the realistic results, and I'm calling them realistic results because they are emerging directly from the solutions you're promoting. So as a result of you marketing the solar pumps, farmer will install the pumps, there will be an increased irrigated crop area, and the farmers will also hopefully use those drought-tolerant seeds. What you get is hopefully increased or stable yields and stable incomes. And then the last piece, which is mostly the most difficult part and the most difficult because it happens further down in time, is the intentional impacts. And here we're talking about enhanced water use efficiency, about climate resilient production, or how yields will become stable in time despite climate risks, and climate resilient livelihoods, so income becoming stable due to the investments. The key takeaway from here is that you can unpack your impact story into these key schematic boxes, I dare to say, that are not just boxes, but are intentional intentions that you are trying to achieve through your investment. And given this blurb that I just had on the importance of an impact story or an impact pathway, I wonder if there is anyone in the room who would dare to say something about what is their impact story. What are the pain points, what are the solutions, results, and impacts that you're trying to address? If we have some agri-SMEs in the room who want to speak up. Maybe it's too soon, we can continue and maybe we get back to it, okay.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for this opportunity. My name is Abigail Kosgei. I work for Farm Better, and our job, what we do mainly is providing digital agricultural solutions to farmers using an extension agent app to the farmers. So the pain point we are trying to address there is a lack of information to the farmers, and we are trying to do that by bridging the gap, providing a digital app product to extension agents across different farmers through cooperatives and organizations, so that farmers can receive adequate and reliable information regarding sustainable agricultural practices and regenerative practices. So the end goal there is to ensure that the farmers are producing using low cost and also having quality produce that have grown them organically. So, and another achievement is to have quality food on the table, organic food, by also enabling farmers get services through COAN, where they provide PGS training and certification. I hope I have structured it the way it was. Thank you.
I think you did a great pitch. Thank you so much. And I see that the companies were represented and very active in this space, so it might deserve a prize at the end of the session. Thank you so much. So you identified a clear, I'm going to summarize while we have the next intervention. You summarize how your company addresses farmers' lack of access to information, but also of quality food. Thank you.
Hello everyone. My name is Daniel Njopit. I work in both organic and artificial intelligence company called Plant Village. But I want specifically to discuss on the organic journey. And I'll start by the pain points. So we produce 2 products, parasitoids and biochar. So I think they're quite good innovation. So the first pain point is the challenge of a farmer understanding exactly what is this, the question of what are you producing? And it's a pain point because our farmers, mostly the African farmers, I'm a child grown in this country, and I know they want quick solutions, but for organic substances takes time. So the pain is explaining to them that you cannot compare synthetic fertilizer with, let's say, the organic fertilizer that is in biochar, for example, and for the parasitoid, you cannot probably do the same. I think what the solution to that mainly was to work with the community. So we decided that as a farmer, for you to get this organic fertilizer at a lower price is we do a partnership where we use your locally available waste materials to prepare the fertilizer, reducing the price of the fertilizer that you end up getting. So we've also invested on Prosopis juliflora, that is matenge. So we went to a community in Baringo where matenge was a problem. For those in Kenya understand what matenge is. It's a very invasive weed, and there are cases of people accusing the plant, which I don't know whether it's scientifically proven. It makes the animal lose their teeth. So the plant is very invasive, so we decided we cut down the plant. So after cutting down, what do? We actually used it to produce the biochar and gave it back to the community to sell it at very low prices to plant indigenous grasses, which today they are using it to sustain their livestock. So those are the results and impacts, and the journey has not been an easy one, but it's been with lessons. But the most important part is seeing the very community on the project as their own and finding solutions within the ecosystem that they live in. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I think you highlighted a very important point about identifying the pain points with the people you work with, and most importantly, identifying the solutions together with the community you work with, because this is where you will find the most of the impact. I see another hand in the back. 2, maybe more.
Yes, my name is George with Akulimo Africa. We are a WhatsApp-based, buyer-driven market linkages. So we connect buyers directly through some WhatsApp platform to farmer groups and brokers who are then able to get a better price, farm gate price, not really farm gate, but better share of the price. So our pain is we found within local fresh produce there's between 3 to 5x on a single day transaction from farm gate to market, and we try to increase the share of the farmer. Our solution is transparency, is bringing in not just the farmers, but the brokers and everyone on the same platform, and democratizing the sharing of the revenue. The results are one we're proud of. Somewhere in Suguta, we were able to move the money that was going to the farmer from, they were selling at 80 shillings, and it was 400 at the market. 400 at the market, and we're able to get the share of the farmer to about 210 shillings. Impact, of course, is livelihood and increased supply due to returns.
Thank you so much. Again, a very good example of how to think about this narrative that leads from the pain points to the impacts, and most importantly, how the final impact actually helps to link back to the pain point, whether the improved livelihoods help to address the initial pain point. I'm going to have to continue, but thank you so much for contributing with your stories. The next slides are really about some resources and tools that you can use to think more about this, these impact pathways and impact stories. And I'll quickly run through them, but you have the QR codes and you'll have access to the presentations. And I'm pretty sure that most of you in the room already have a very clear idea of your story, have already pitched to investors a lot. But what matters a lot in this impact pathway to design is to be true to yourself, and also because it's also an opportunity for you to understand where your company is and where it wants to get. One example of a research of a tool is a report we put together on generic impact pathways for agri-food investments, where you have different examples for different types of investments to start with. It's a conversation starter. You can obviously adequate it to your situation. It's not a standard product, but it's something to inspire you. The second one are examples of impact pathways that have been developed by agribusinesses in a previous accelerator program we've supported. And there's tens of them, I believe, with very different investment angles. So here's more an example that speaks more to your language, the agribusiness language. The third one is more about explaining the process of impact pathway design, and there's many resources out there on Google. I'm here to also do promotional work from our team. But it's really about diving deeper into the steps that I just mentioned, how to identify the pain points, how to identify the solutions that speak to the pain points, results, and impacts. And then if we talk about the pain points, which is actually the critical piece of starting the impact pathway, we also have tools out there that help you quantify the pain points, or in this case, the climate risks to agricultural production, to develop the rationale for the solutions. And here's an example of a tool that colleagues in our team have developed, the Africa Agriculture Adaptation Atlas. And if you have questions, we have Todd Rosenstock leading this project. Essentially on the screen, what you have are screenshots of the tool that help you, for instance, identify the value of production at risk. You can select the region where you're operating, the value chain, and so on. But you can also try to identify the potential for adaptation, so adaptive capacity in terms of expressed here in terms of poverty, education, and empowerment. So this helps you basically to start the impact journey. here is another example of a more qualitative approach to identifying the pain points. It's a bit of a messy screen and a messy tool, but it's a stepwise approach. So the idea is that you identify where you're located, the agroecological zone, so you have different filters on the right hand of the tool. And you also select the value chains you're interested in, and the tool will pop up different impacts that are emerging from different types of climate risks. This helps you create a more qualitative narrative that is based on most recent evidence, scientific evidence. Essentially what the impact pathway helps you is it forces you to think about not just the top of the iceberg, which is usually where we tend to think about the solutions, about what we're doing, whether we're doing it or not, or whether we achieved the immediate results, whether we sold our products, whether we trained the farmers and so on. But it helps us think about what's beneath the iceberg, what is the real problem that we're trying to address, and what are the long-term effects of the investment of a project, or the impacts. So it really helps us to have this complete picture of the iceberg. The second advice I want to talk about is measuring what matters. And as you well know, investors, funders, philanthropic NGOs and so on are really interested in investing and funding solutions and not just ideas. So the big task is to prove that those solutions work and achieve the change that we're promising to achieve. And the real problem with indicators in impact measurement is how to identify from hundreds of standards and indicators to identify the best indicator. And I want to transition to a fun game right now to try to talk a bit about how do we get to this best indicator. So I would like you to take a piece of paper. You should have notes and pens on your desks, and maybe you can also gather more around tables. The idea is that you would write a short message, a few words about one indicator you value or want to measure, which might be linked to your business, to your project, or to an ideal project you have in mind. You crumple it into paper, and you crumple the paper into a ball, and when I count to 3, you throw your paper ball to someone else, and the recipient will read the message out loud. So I'll give you 2 or 3 minutes to think about an indicator that you value or want to measure, or you believe it's important to measure. When you're ready, you can raise your hand so that I know that people are generally done, and we can start making a bit of chaos in the room. Okay, I see some hands. The challenge will be to throw it to a person and not on the floor. So you can also get closer. Maybe we can start, and then we can do another count for the ones who are not done yet. So ready? On the count of 3, we're gonna throw to someone. 1, 2, 3. Almost. I got it. I hope the balls reach the destinations. Anyone who wants to read out loud the message? You want to start?
I love this one. Sleep, bracket and hours.
Sleep, that's an important indicator. I think we all agree. I think there is one next to you.
May I read?
Sure.
This is so close to heart. Number of women entrepreneurs who access to solar energy.
Access to solar energy for women entrepreneurs.
Okay, another one. Improved livelihoods, impact at smallholder farmer.
This individual wants to see increased agricultural output using the same or less input. Yes.
I have the mic here. Accountability in agricultural practices and the social return on investments.
There's another one here, interesting. What's the effect of input financing to your overall income?
I have one here. Amount of private sector capital mobilized. This is specific to an access to finance project.
She wants to measure increased or improved market linkages to rural or smallholder farmers.
This one here wants to know the cost of production per kg.
Hapa kuna to measure extent to which education system has empowered women.
This one wants to know increased productivity and income for smallholder farmer.
Yes, this one increased household income that is sustainable.
This one reads the number of farmers meaningfully engaged in a code design process and also social differentiation.
This person wants to know about first-time credit.
It's on. Okay, this one wants to know about climate resilience, a farmer ability to withstand climate shocks.
If anyone else wants to read, you can raise your hand as well, and I can move around too.
Number of climate-related policies that are implemented in country X.
This one reads, have the farmers using our digital platform realized a growth in their yield, ergo their income levels?
I mean, it's similar to that. This one just said increased income.
I have soil organic matter improvement.
This one here is increase in number of project participants, especially young women in agriculture.
This one is number of smallholder farmers adopting agroecological production techniques.
Bankability investor lady.
Anyone else? Yes, we have.
The number of farmers accessing input credit.
I support small-scale farmers and would like to measure their ability to repay big loans, not just loans, big loans, if we were to provide them with inputs of high-value crops. Very specific.
That's a good indicator, it's specific.
Specific.
Enhanced access to essential services.
So does an incentive from carbon credit sales motivate a farmer to keep doing good, to keep doing that good activity? That's a question.
Finally, it's cost of climate smart agriculture.
So we can take 2 or 3 more. And you can leave the notes on the table, and we're going to collect them and put them in the report as well that our colleagues are preparing.
So from my friend here, she wants to measure if there is a sort of impact in the livelihood of the farmer based on the activities that they are carrying out.
So we've heard a lot of livelihood, income, productivity, women-focused indicators, but we also heard a lot of other indicators which basically highlights the idea that there's probably as many indicators out there as people in the room, even more. And so, okay, sorry. The power of an impact pathway that you build, or an impact story that you build, is that it helps you identify those indicators that make sense to your business, to your project. So you're not just mapping out boxes of activities, of results and their impact. You're mapping them in order to understand what makes sense for you to measure. So in the same example I gave you of a business that focuses on solar irrigated pumps. Here I mapped a couple of indicators that would speak to this type of business model. So in terms of indicators that focus on implementation of the solution, you would measure pump production, pump sales, seed sales, farmer training sessions, or if we're talking more about results, you would measure users, beneficiaries, area covered, or further down, yields, income. And if we're talking about impacts, you'd be interested in measuring how much water is used per unit of product, so water use efficiency, yield stability over time despite climate risks, or household income stability over time. So what I'm trying to tell you here is that the impact pathway doesn't only have a communication purpose for your pitch, for your investors, but it also helps you to guide through identifying, measuring what matters. So making sense of that chaotic universe of thousands of indicators available out there. And there's many different criteria to use when you when you start to develop your own or identify the indicators that works for you. 2 very common ones are the SMART criteria, which is about specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time-bound indicators. I'm not going to go into detail, but you can Google them. There's lots of examples on those. But there's another one which I like more. I don't like CREAM, but I like the acronym a lot, which speaks to clear, relevant, economically feasible, adequate to what you're measuring, and monitorable, because this couple of criteria really speak about the feasibility of your indicator. So it's not just about aligning to the goals and aligning to your impact story, but also making sure that these indicators are actually feasible to measure. And here again, I'm going to walk you through a couple of examples of lists of indicators out there. There's many more, and I think our colleagues from CLIC will also dive a bit deep into it in the session tomorrow. Here we've been compiling lists of indicators from climate smart agriculture investments in Africa. You'll find typologies of indicators and discriminated by whether they are measuring activities, results, impacts, different value chains, and so on. If you want to top up your game and really understand how your business actually aligns to national goals, national plans, you can also take a look at this database of adaptation indicators that countries are planning to track in their national adaptation plans and nationally determined contributions. So this is really about aligning your business goals with what your country, where your country plans to head in terms of climate change adaptation. Or there's others, and apologies for cramming this, but you might already be aware of the Global Impact Investment Network, which looks a lot at sustainability focused indicators, or the DAG tool for self-reporting on the impact of digital ag. So it's a lot focused on digital ag. And I saw that there were flyers around on the 60 decibels impact benchmarks that really look at usership of ag products, ag solutions. These indicator lists and guidance are not specifically focused on climate adaptation or resilience, but help you move forward in terms of thinking about sustainability, environmental, societal impacts. You will have access to the slides if you didn't manage to scan all the QR codes. One last thing to wrap up this second advice is that the best indicators are the ones that allow you to tell your impact story, that allow you to tell it in a cost-effective way. So it's not the one that your investor or donor wants you to show, it's the one that speaks mostly to your business. And the last advice I will focus on today is about starting small and building big. And this is really about how you actually measure, once you identify your indicator, how do you collect the data. And it's interesting to know that 3 out of top 5 impact metrics that are required by the funders are collectible through operational data. And these are some preliminary results from colleagues from ISF Advisors research. They have surveyed a bunch of stakeholders, finance actors in the impact investment space. And they found out that most of them are really focused on identifying how many beneficiaries the company reaches, about gender empowerment, whether it's within the business or the beneficiary group, and then 44% focused on the yields, 36% on income, and 32% on employment. What this suggests is that there is a very low-hanging fruit here to start a conversation with investors, to start using operational data for kickstarting the impact measurement journey. So you don't have to prioritize the most difficult indicators, but there is reasons why you can start with the ones you might be already collecting. If you want to step up your game, of course, there's emerging innovations that you can use in order to go further in your to measure your impact story, and especially when it comes to changes in livelihoods, changes in yields, changes in income, and so on. And here are a couple of examples of what colleagues from the CGR have been working on. One is an example of a tool that uses AI, artificial intelligence, to estimate coffee yields. It's called Croppy. The second one uses satellite-based images to track agricultural biomass productivity, so as to be able to estimate yields. So you don't have to collect data from the field, but you used remote sensing or satellite images to estimate yields. Or if you're interested more in engaging with farmers, there is a tool called the 5Q or 5 questions, which uses question trees to track changes in knowledge, attitudes, and skills. So basically, try to use 5 simple questions used periodically with farmers to understand how they have changed behavior, whether they have adopted practices or not, whether they have used your products or not, and track them regularly to understand how these changed over time. So these are examples of tools that help you to move beyond that operational data that you might be collecting. It's very important to recognize that impact measurement does not stop once you collected the data once. It requires analysis. Even if you collect already operational data, you have to interpret it in the context of your business. And then you have to use it either for learning, for reporting to your investors, or for enhancing your business model. And it's important that the cycle repeats in order to be able to tell your impact story. And the reason why I'm showing this is because this also highlights the need that you need to dedicate appropriate resources, not just for one data collection at the beginning when you start your business, but you need to do this periodically. So it needs to be a dedicated effort throughout the lifetime of your business or of your project. And I'm not going to go deep into the nitty-gritty of data collection methods, because this is where the session from tomorrow from my colleagues at Click will be focused on. They're going to deep dive into examples of methods to measure specific indicators linked to specific investments. So if you're thinking about where to start with data collection, there's 3 things you can do. One is look at your impact pathway and see what types of topics are coming out, what types of indicators you can match. Assess what you already collect, because you might be already advanced in your impact measurement journey, and leverage your low-hanging fruits. Some of those metrics that indicate that the investors are interested in, but you are and you are ready to collect. And we're not almost done, but we are moving towards the end. And I wanted to mention that this was a masterclass of a masterclass. So a masterclass doesn't happen in an hour. A masterclass in our vision is really about a dedicated, self-paced online training that speaks to different types of users, has different user journeys, and provides in-depth knowledge on a particular topic. And this is what we are working with with colleagues at Click and with MercyCorps. And the masterclass will be an inspiring, immersive, interactive, and open source learning program on impact measurement and tracking in the context of climate change, and we're launching it next year. And this, my talk today was supposed to be to give you a sneak peek into what we are going to talk about in this online training program. We envision 6 learning modules. The first one is a generic one where we really aim to identify the type of journey you want to explore, whether you're an agribusiness, whether you're an investor, whether you're working on development projects. So kind of like to map you to the right content. The second one is really about foundational concepts, setting out a baseline understanding of what is impact measurement, how is it different from monitoring and evaluation, but where does it sit with the sustainable development goals, with the ESGs and so on. The third module is aimed to focus on designing your impact pathway or impact narratives and the types of tools to use and the processes to use. For this, the fourth is focused on identifying the right indicators, walking you through different types of indicators and tools for you to identify what makes sense to you. The fifth is really about protocols and methods for data collection that speak to your capacities, to your interests. And the sixth one is about how to use the impact data, so how to use it in learning efforts, in reporting, and in enhancing your business model. We really want to hear from you. We're in this design process of the masterclass, so we want you to stay engaged with us, not just through participating in it next year, but we want to gauge your interest in contributing with your story to the masterclass. Whether you're already an experienced impact measurer, we can have you as part of our mentors cohort or mentors group. There's many ways you can stay engaged, so if you click on the QR code, it will get you to a very short survey where you can tell us how you would like to participate. I'm not sure if we still have time, but the idea was also to talk a bit at the round table, like at your tables, to discuss about these questions about like how a masterclass on impact measurement would make a difference to you, what would motivate you to sign up. Is it the practicality of the tools? Is it case study? Is it a certification? The specific topics you want to learn more about? How much time you would dedicate for the learning, or if there are specific features that you would like to see. This is the last dynamic we have in the session, so if we want to spend like 10 minutes at your tables, you can write down your ideas in a piece of paper, and then if we don't have the time to collect all the contributions with the microphone, we will collect the written text. So it would be very useful for us to understand how you think about such an in-depth learning module, with the disclaimer that today was just it was supposed to be to give you a small taste of it. For 10 minutes and then, yeah. You don't have to address all the questions if you don't have time. If you're interested in discussing one of them, that's perfect.